that leads me very nicely, actually, talking about the Treasury and money, to my next guest. I've been really looking forward to this. So this is a world exclusive interview with someone that I'm afraid is anonymous, but that's fine by us, and for good reason, because he wants to protect his identity insofar as what he has been up to, including, let me just trail this before I bring him on, including paying for his petrol at a Cleveland BP station with a £20 coin that is legal tender, and was subsequently arrested by Cleveland police, and then as a consequence of that wrongful arrest was compensated to the tune of £4,000. Now, it may be that you saw this on Plank of the Week, which I'm always proud and honoured to be a guest of every so often, once a month or so, Mike Graham's brilliant Plank of the Week creation. And we talked about this not in this week's show, but in last week's show. And I actually thought that this chap here, who goes by the moniker of I Spy Audit, that the fact that we had nominated Cleveland Police as Plank of the Week, I thought that it would win. It didn't, unfortunately, but this might be familiar to those that saw Plank of the Week a week or so ago. So look, I'm delighted to have on the show, albeit anonymously and by way of voice only, I Spy Audit. Welcome.
Hello, Russell. How are you?
I'm very, very well. And look, I'm delighted to be speaking to you. Obviously, you and I have had a bit of email correspondence over the last week or so, because you saw that we'd obviously profiled your endeavours, shall we say, on Plank of the Week. And we lampooned Cleveland Police. And the funniest thing, and you'll, I'm sure, give us your own account of this in a second. The most amusing thing, although it's really not that funny because it's testimony to the way that the police potentially operate these days, was the fact that you were arrested for making off without paying, but you hadn't actually gone anywhere. You were still standing in the shop at the petrol station, that's right?
Yeah, that's right. Making off without payment, even though I didn't make off. And when the police officer was reading me rights, he could have stopped reading the rights and thought, oh, actually, you're right. But she continued.
Yeah.
I told her I haven't made off. Yeah.
So let's talk through this from the beginning. So you decided, because you want to make a point, let's be clear, to video this and to put this on your YouTube channel, I Spy Audit YouTube channel. Just talk us through exactly what you did and kind of what resulted as a consequence of this instance.
Yeah, I'll start by the reason why I did it. I want to use my legal rights so they don't get taken away.
Your legal rights?
The Queen signed, yeah, and the Queen stamped her head on that £20 coin for a reason.
Yep.
She intended for people to use it. Well, at the minute, because the King's now going to get their head stamped on it as well, isn't he?
Yeah. So, it's a £20 coin, so it's legal tender?
Yeah. It is, yes.
Yeah. So you decide to take that along. You filled up with petrol, or put 20 quid's worth in, presumably. You go into the petrol station shop, and I think you... well, did you know this was going to happen, or did you already ring ahead to BP head office to see if they would accept the £20 coin, from what I understood?
Yeah, that's right. I already had proof from BP head office that I could use the coin. They had no reason to believe that the store wouldn't accept it.
Yeah.
And when I gave it over, I was quite shocked that he knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
And likewise, the police didn't either.
Yeah. So when you watch the video, which, as I've said, you can do on your YouTube channel, and we're going to show a clip of in a second, yeah, they didn't believe that it was legal tender, called the police. The police turn up and question you for quite some time. I mean, the video goes on for quite some time. And you very properly explain how that £20 coin is legal tender. Of course, and I should point out that by law, shops do not have to accept large denomination coins, actually, even if they are legal tender. The Royal Mint website specifies, apparently, that both parties are free to agree to accept any form of payment, whether legal tender or otherwise, according to their wishes. However, you called ahead to BP head office and said, I've got a £20 coin, it's legal tender, will you accept it? And they said...
They said they would, yeah.
They said they
would.
And
that's right, and the shop can accept popcorn cans and baked beans, they can accept anything as a form of payment.
Yeah. Well, look, let's look at what happened next. We've got a clip ready. This is what happened to you subsequent to the police turning up.
For a civil issue, I don't. I don't.
Right, well, this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question from the letter line court. Anything you do is to maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off, though.
For your arrest is prompted in fact of investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
That you're in precaution as well. And due to the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? We're going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Wow, so they carted you off in the police car, arresting you for making off without paying, even though you said, I think I counted there, I spy audit, about 5 or 6 times you said, I haven't made off. That police officer, I think, had also made a call to her supervisor, hadn't she?
She did, yeah. She could have stopped that arrest at any point. She could have realised that, oh, actually, you're right, let's get lost. And she didn't.
Yeah.
She continued, she called the supervisor, and the supervisor authorised the arrest.
Yeah, so they authorised the arrest, even though you're paying with legal tender that you've called in advance to authorise, and the fact that, again, you hadn't made off without paying. I mean, that I guess was the only thing they could think of to charge you with, even though also I saw from the video that you made it very clear that you understood that it was a civil offence, as in going in and doing something that involves requiring payment, which then there's a dispute over. That's not a criminal matter, that's a civil matter.
That's right. And if you listen on the 30-minute video as well, or your listeners can go back to it, the officer actually admits herself that she knows it's a civil matter.
Yeah.
But she continues down the criminal route, which is crazy.
And because, from what I could glean, the police officer wrongly thought that the only way to ensure that the company, so that BP petrol station, would have your details with which to follow you up with, the only way to ensure that was to arrest you. But that's not legal.
No, it's not. And even still, I couldn't pass my details to them anyway, because it's a civil matter. It's up to the garage to identify myself. The police couldn't give my details over to the shop. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. Why didn't you just elect then afterwards to pay by other means, a debit card, a credit card or a £20 note?
The reason why is because the shop declined the payment. So let me explain a little bit why and how a £20 coin can be used. I actually used it to settle a debt. A fuel is a debt because you dispense the fuel before you pay.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as getting a loaf of bread in a shop. The shop can basically give you a loaf of bread back and decline the payment. But because you've got a debt and you've offered legal tender to settle a debt, if they decline that payment, they can't sue you at a later date. And they decided to give the £20 coin to the police, and then the police gave it back to me.
So, and then tell us what happened afterwards. So you made a complaint, presumably, that you'd been wrongfully arrested. What happened then?
So what happened is I contacted my solicitor, Ian Gold, who sent them a very strongly worded email to say, pay up or we're going to court. The police were very, very unwilling to discuss the case, even to this date, and they haven't apologised. What happened is it went all the way to court. We had a court date where all the hearing dates, all the witness statements were given out, and then they basically backed up and paid £4,000.
So they paid you £4,000, I mean, of taxpayers' money. I mean, that's the Cleveland taxpayers' money that they've had to pay because of their knee-jerk reaction and the wrongful arrest that they oversaw as a consequence of their misunderstanding of the situation. That's how you see it.
Yeah, that's right. I know Sue and I know your listeners will agree as well.
Well, we haven't got much time, unfortunately, because I've got to hand over to the wonderful Tricia Goddard in a sec. But there are two things to say from this. One is that we should all be very, very worried, I think, about cash and the fact that cash almost is being potentially eradicated from society. I think that this kind of speaks for that. But also the fact that the police, yet again, have been seen to be mismanaging a situation and not to be acting properly, or indeed within their authority. It really is about time that the police were brought to task nationally to make sure they actually serve the citizens of this country properly, rather than spending time and resource on soft targets. Mr. I Spy Audit, thank you very much.